Hi there! In this video, we will discuss the summary of the 24th chapter of El Filibusterismo, or The Reign of Greed, written by Dr. Jose Rizal, titled Dreams. We will also study the important events, characters, settings, and lessons found in this chapter. Listen and watch carefully, as you will learn a lot from this historical work by Rizal. Let's begin. Isagani walked along the Malecon de Manila, feeling sad and thinking about his relationship with Paulita. He was worried about what might happen after the events of the previous night, where he had seen her with Juanito Peláez at the theater. Carrying 2 treasured letters she had written to him, Isagani prepared himself for the worst, remembering the happy moments they once shared, such as moonlit walks and whispered conversations after church. However, everything around him now felt gloomy and lifeless. As he walked, he overheard Ben Zabe talking near the Anda monument about Simun, who had fallen seriously ill and was refusing visitors, even high-ranking officials. Hearing this, Isagani felt bitter, noting how Simun's wealth earned him special treatment, while wounded soldiers were ignored. He reflected on the sacrifices made by those defending their homeland, finding their struggle far more honorable and meaningful than his current sadness. This reflection led him to dream of a heroic death for his country, which he considered a noble way to live and die. Suddenly, Paulita arrived in a carriage with Doña Victorina and her friend. When Paulita smiled warmly at him, Isagani's worries vanished. Paulita explained that she had only gone to the theater because her aunt insisted, reassuring him that she had no interest in Juanito Peláez. She even joked about her aunt wanting to marry Juanito, which amused them both. Despite having the opportunity to criticize Juanito, Isagani chose to speak kindly of him, concealing his true feelings out of respect. Doña Victorina, obsessed with finding her missing husband, Don Tiburcio, soon gave Isagani and Paulita some privacy. The two talked about their dreams for the future. Isagani spoke with pride about his seaside hometown, describing its beauty and the freedom he felt there. However, he admitted that since meeting Paulita, the place felt incomplete without her. Paulita, used to city life, disliked the idea of living in a rural area, especially after hearing about the leeches in the mountains. Instead, she dreamed of luxurious train travel, though such a thing seemed impossible at the time. Isagani shared his vision of a prosperous future for the Philippines. He imagined the islands connected by railroads, bustling with factories and modern cities, and governed by justice and equality. He dreamed of a united and free country where Spaniards and Filipinos worked together for the common good. Paulita, however, doubted these lofty dreams, calling them unrealistic. Her skepticism hurt Isagani, but he resolved that even if their plans failed, he would find meaning in sacrificing his life for the nation. He hoped Paulita would take pride in his efforts, even if his sacrifice was the only outcome. Their conversation was cut short when Doña Victorina called Paulita back to the carriage. Isagani joined them and sat beside Paulita, feeling overjoyed to be so close to her. As the carriage traveled through the city, he saw and heard nothing else, completely absorbed in the moment and cherishing her presence. Now, let's move on to the important events in this chapter. Isagani walked along the Malecon de Manila, feeling sorrowful over his strained relationship with Paulita after seeing her with Juanito Peláez at the theater, reflecting on their past happy moments and treasuring her letters. Overhearing Ben Zabe talk about Simun's illness and the special treatment he received, Isagani bitterly contrasted it with the neglect of wounded soldiers, leading him to dream of a heroic death for the country as a noble purpose. Paulita arrived in a carriage with Doña Victorina, warmly reassuring Isagani that her theater attendance with Juanito was her aunt's insistence and that she had no interest in him, rekindling Isagani's happiness. In a private conversation, Isagani shared his pride in his hometown and his vision of a prosperous, united Philippines connected by railroads and governed by justice, though Paulita dismissed these dreams as unrealistic, wounding him. Their conversation ended when Doña Victorina called Paulita back to the carriage, but Isagani joined them, feeling elated to sit beside Paulita, cherishing the moment and forgetting everything else around him. Important characters. Isagani. A young man deeply in love with Paulita, Isagani reflects on his relationship, his dreams for the Philippines, and the injustices he perceives in society. His idealism and patriotism drive him to envision a better future for his country, despite his doubts and personal struggles. Paulita Gomez. Paulita is Isagani's love interest, who oscillates between affection and skepticism. While she shows warmth and charm, her doubts about Isagani's grand visions highlight her preference for comfort and practicality over lofty ideals. Doña Victorina. As Paulita's controlling aunt, Doña Victorina is obsessed with appearances and social status. Her comical infatuation with Juanito Peláez and her relentless search for her missing husband, Don Tiburcio, satirize colonial mentality and superficial values. Ben Zabe. The journalist overheard by Isagani talking about Simone's illness represents societal priorities that favor the wealthy and powerful. His presence serves to emphasize the neglect of the poor and ordinary soldiers. Simone. Though absent in the chapter, Simone's illness and the attention he receives underscore the societal tendency to privilege the wealthy. He symbolizes the disparity between power and those who sacrifice for the country. Juanito Peláez. Mentioned as both a potential suitor for Paulita and as Doña Victorina's romantic interest, Juanito embodies opportunism and shallow charm, contrasting sharply with Isagani's sincerity and patriotism. Let us now proceed to the setting of this chapter. The setting of chapter 24 is primarily along the Malecón de Manila, a promenade by the bay, as well as the surrounding areas such as near the Anda Monument and the Bridge of Spain. Here are some of the lessons, messages, or implications shown in this chapter. The chapter demonstrates how love can dissolve anger and bring reconciliation, as seen in Isagani's change of heart when Paulita smiles at him. The contrast between Simone's privileged treatment and the neglect of wounded soldiers highlights societal injustices, where wealth dictates respect and care. Isagani's reflections on a noble death for his country underscore the value of selflessness and dedication to a greater cause, even in the face of doubt. The clash between Isagani's idealistic vision for the Philippines and Paulita's practical skepticism represents the tension between aspirations for a better future and the challenges of achieving them. Doña Victorina's obsession with status and colonial ideals critiques the shallow aspirations and misguided priorities of certain societal figures. Despite the obstacles and doubts, Isagani's resolve to pursue his dreams for his country conveys the power of hope and determination in striving for progress. And that concludes the 24th chapter of El Filibusterismo, titled Dreams. What have you learned from this chapter? Share your answers in the comments. We also encourage you to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay updated with our future videos. Until next time, thank you for watching.